Hey everybody, welcome back to Race of History. Today we're doing Simple History's The Winter War. Let's get into it.
The Winter War, November 30th, 1939 through March 13th, 1940, World War II. The Winter War of 1939 through 1940, or the Russo-Finnish War, was fought between the Soviet Union and Finland. The Soviet Union claimed parts of Finnish territory mainly to create a buffer against a German attack, as the Finnish border was close to Leningrad. Stalin demanded that Finland cede parts of its Karelian Isthmus territory in exchange for other Soviet land in the center of the border. Finland had declared itself neutral at the outbreak of World War II and sought help from Sweden and the Western Allies, including Britain and France, but with no success. When Finland finally refused Stalin's offer, the Soviet Union launched its attack on November 30th, 1939. The Red Army outnumbered the small Finnish army at around 1 million troops and was vastly superior in its tanks, artillery, and air support. However, it was poorly led and had difficulty with the Finnish terrain and winter weather. The Finnish army, in comparison, was well led and knew the terrain well. Therefore, while outnumbered, they were able to outfight the Soviets for a long time. The Finns had warm, snow-white camouflage suits and made use of skis to swiftly attack Soviet troops. The Red Army, meanwhile, was slow to camouflage its soldiers who were dressed in regular khaki uniforms. To take on Soviet tanks, Finnish troops would use logs and crowbars, jamming them into the wheels to immobilize it.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that kind of come together to make this the ass kicking that it ended up being. One of them is that I talked about this some with the World War II German army, but when you have ideology that seeps into every part of a society, including the military, then what ends up happening is you have people that, if it was merit based, would not be anywhere near a battlefield. But because they are ideologically on the same page, or because they know somebody or are close to somebody that's in the Communist Party, they are in these positions of power and they're actually dictating battlefield tactics when they really should not be. So what you have is you have Finnish military hierarchy that is merit based and they know their stuff really well. You have Russian military hierarchy that are god awful. I mean, you really see how awful they are in this. The other thing that happens here is the Russians are not prepared for the type of defense that they're ultimately going to get. And so when they get the type of brutal fighting that the Finns put up in this, they are wholly unprepared for it. There's going to end up being huge encirclement maneuvers where basically all of these tanks and trucks are going to just essentially die and starve out in the middle of these roads. It is a brutal conflict that the Finns ultimately lose because they run out of space, but they kick the Russians' teeth in over and over and over and over until that point.
They would use a glass bottle filled with a flammable liquid known as the Molotov cocktail, a name referring by the Finns to the Soviet foreign minister. The tide only began to turn in the Soviet favor when Stalin appointed a new commander, Marshal Semyon Timoshenko, who sent fresh Soviet reinforcements to the battle in February 1940. The Finnish army eventually became exhausted and then overrun. With no chance of outside help from Britain and France, who considered the possibility too late, Finland was forced to surrender and sign the Treaty of Moscow on March 12, 1940, ceding 11% of its territory to the Soviet Union. During the Winter War, the League of Nations expelled the Soviet Union on December 14, 1939, for its illegal invasion. After the war, the hesitancy of Britain and France was apparent, as was the low quality of the Red Army to Hitler, who took note on attacking the Soviet Union in the near future.
Okay, so not only does it get everybody's attention, and I mean everybody's attention, that Russia struggles so much here. It was nobody expected it, and they struggled so mightily that it has everybody kind of scratching their head afterwards about, is the Russian military really this bad? Also, the person that Stalin ends up putting in command for the Winter War, he does not lose any less troops. In fact, he specifically asked Stalin that if he is going to go forward with his plan, he can't be held accountable for the amount of men that he loses, because he essentially just throws line after line after line, person after person, shell after shell. And the whole thought process is, we can replace our troops, we can give them time off, we can bring up new troops to the line. The Finns can't do that. So eventually you can only fight or stay awake so long before you start to break down. And so that's eventually what ends up giving them the edge. But they lose a ton of troops the whole time. Having the new commander doesn't help that. It's a good strategy, I guess, because you're already at war and there's really nothing else you can do. So if your only goal is to win, then you can win just by sheer numbers, just because you're the Soviet Union and they're Finland. But Finland not only puts up a great fight here, they really expose the Soviet Union to the rest of the world going forward. And it kind of changes the outlook for World War II as far as the Soviet Union is concerned. So that's simple history, is the Winter War. I'm going to do another Winter War video later that's a little more in depth. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.